Hey folks, welcome back to their Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark.
And I'm Anne.
Today we're taking a look at the Reckoners.
The Reckoners is brought to you by Nabu Games. It can be played with 1 to 6 players and takes about 1 to 2 hours.
Yep, so let's go see if we can take out Steelheart. Alright, let's set up everything. So you pull everything out of the box. You've got tons of dice, you've got player boards, you've got overlays. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, so once you've taken out all the things, each player is going to select a character from the game that they want to play. So you're going to grab your matching character board, your matching dice, your starting character card, and your mini.
Exactly, and all those characters from the Reckoners are represented here. You've got David, who's known as Knees, you've got Abraham, you've got Tia, you've got Megan, and Prof, and Cody. So if you're a fan of these books, those main characters are all here to play.
And each character also comes with their own special abilities. So depending on how you want to play the game, what you want to be strong at, you might pick your character based off that too.
Exactly.
All right, after each person has their character, we're going to set up the city districts of New Chicago. And those are going to be these boards right here. And so you're going to grab the number of city districts, that's the number of players plus 1. After that, you'll shuffle all of the epics and add an epic to each district. When you're setting up an epic, you're going to have in the top left-hand corner 2 numbers. The number in purple is their research number, and the number in green is their health. And so you will start the markers with the corresponding numbers. Now, one thing to note here, as you are researching these epics, once you have them fully researched and they get all the way down to this end here, then their health will automatically drop. They're going to be easier to defeat.
Yes,
so,
indeed, which is so helpful.
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes, most of the time, in fact, you'll want to research them first, and then once you know their weakness, then you go in and knock them out.
Exactly.
Some of them will have infinity health until they are researched too. So for those guys, you have to know their weakness in order to defeat them. And then the other guys, they start with a higher number health, and once you have them researched and once you know their weakness, then it drops down and they just become easier to kill. But you can kill those guys outright, you know, if it makes sense at that time.
Yep. And the other thing about these boards is that these are the locations that you'll be traveling to. So your main characters will be moving to these boards as you engage into these different districts.
All right, so once you have all the epics in place, now you're going to set up Steelheart's board. Steelheart's board is made up of 2 parts, the left and the right. The left has 2 pieces that you will set up and essentially use to determine the difficulty and based off the number of players. So the left-hand side, there's 3A and 3B for 3 players. Right. And then there's A and B for the right-hand portion of this left side. You'll also be putting these little sliders on here that move up and down throughout the game that are going to tell you essentially
all the bad things that are happening.
All the bad things, how annoying he is being and how difficult he's making your victory become. Now the right hand portion of his board is going to start out with his research. And just like most of the other epics, you have to research them before you can really do any damage. You definitely have to know Steelheart's weakness before you can start attacking him and doing damage to him. So you'll play the first portion of the game researching him, and once you have his weakness figured out, then you'll swap that out for his health.
Damage him. That's right. And the other thing too is that he has this really cool figure, which is basically steel.
It's appropriate,
it's appropriate, right? Very thematic, right? Which is really cool.
And he'll also be moving around. So just like you're moving around to the different city districts, Steelheart will be moving around, and you kind of got to chase after him as you're trying to research him.
That's what's cool too, is that they're using a 4-sided dice to determine where and how he moves. So it's a bit random, but you never know where he's going to be, which is very thematic again to the books. So yeah, that's really an interesting part for sure. And then you're going to take the Reckoner's board. This board holds a lot of things for the collective group of the players. So first, on the left, you have your population track, which is basically the health of the Reckoners. If this bottoms out to 0, game's over, you're dead.
You're just basically slowly watching it go down, the population, throughout the whole game.
And it's like, no!
We're all going to die.
Exactly. And then on the rightmost side is the money. And this money's important because you're going to take across the top these equipment cards. You're going to shuffle them up and put 4 out and make 4 available. So collectively, you will be spending money to acquire these cards. And then whatever character makes most sense to get them, you'll distribute the cards in that way. So there's a lot of items, a lot of equipment from the books in these cards, and they work very thematic to the story. And then lastly, you're going to take the marker and put it at the top of the base track. And we'll talk a little bit more about what this track does in a bit. And then lastly, you're going to take like the planning tokens, you're going to take the barricades, and you're going to take the enforcement officers and put them near the game boards, all within reach of all players.
Can we just hide them forever?
Yes, because they are terrible. These enforcement, oh my gosh, they are just as bad as they are in the books.
All right, once you have everything set up, we're going to go through the prologue phase, which is this little bit additional setup.
Yeah.
And there's a few things we didn't cover as far as starting population and money and all that good stuff, but the rulebook will go over all those details. So you're going to take Steelheart and place him in a random district. Next, you're going to add reinforcements. And this is basically activating the red track right here on his board. And so the number of reinforcements and how you put them out will be determined by that track.
Right.
So you'll add the reinforcements, you'll roll the dice, and Steelheart's going to move. From there, all the players have the ability to buy equipment. This is kind of like your starting equipment.
Yep.
You'll want to spend down your money and get as much equipment as possible.
I think that's something we found. Saving up your money really wasn't, you would need to acquire items right away.
Yeah, like, before the game starts.
Yeah.
So you'll buy an equipment, distribute it, and from that point, you will roll the dice, and the game will begin. Now, the victory and losing conditions are pretty simple. If the population hits 0, you guys lose.
Yep.
Once you research and then defeat Steelheart, you win.
You win. Yep, it's really that.
Just like that. Just research him. No big deal.
It's not a big deal. It's just Steelheart.
Once you have your equipment, you can take a look at the board and decide which district you want certain players to begin in. So you're going to move your pawn there, and then you roll the dice and begin the game.
All right, everybody's going to take their dice. Now, every player has 3 of their own colored dice and 3 clear or 3 white dice. The thing about your own dice, your own colored dice, is that they have doubles based on your special abilities. So like Abraham has a double shot for kills and so forth. So these dice all represent different actions you can take in the game. So as you roll them, you have to decide in each roll, you get to roll 3 times, which dice you're going to hang on to and which ones you're going to re-roll.
And you have to keep one from every roll. You have to keep
one from each roll.
Yeah.
So based on that, you will then place your dice into your action spots. Now, again, collectively, this is a cooperative game, so collectively you're going to be discussing about who does what when and what dice might make sense for that particular action.
And this is my favorite aspect of the game. It's kind of a puzzle.
It really
once
is.
Everyone has their dice determined, and you can talk about it as you're rolling, kind of plan it out. But once everyone's dice are decided, it's kind of a puzzle. Who's going to go where when?
Yep.
And, I'm going to activate this and move it up because I've done it. And then you're going to do 1. And then I'm going to do 5. And then, another player's going to do 2. But it's going to be the best strategy to research or attack the epics.
Yeah, and I really like that as well, the puzzleness to it. And also, it might, you might go first this time, I might go first next time, whatever makes sense for that particular actions that are available. All right, so now that you have all these actions, what do you do with them? So 2 actions that you can do that you could use any dice face that you want to. Basically moving across the different sectors, you burn a dice. Doesn't matter what the face is, you just burn that dice to move. Also, there are barricades that can be out in your sector that prevent you from moving. So again, you burn just any die to eliminate those barricades.
And then beyond that, each face of the die, there's 6 different choices that you have. The first is going to increase your money. $1 sign moves you up $1 on the track. Now, one of the characters, Cody, is going to have $2 sign. And that's one thing to note here is that it's color coordinated, but each character has one side of the die on their colored die that they basically get to do twice.
Yep.
All of the white dice are the same for all the players. But your color, whatever matches your side, which is your character's strength, you're going to get to do twice. Red means that you're going to be killing enforcements. And these enforcements are going to be popping up everywhere.
Oh, man. They're so bad.
So you really want Megan, because Megan will take out 2 enforcements at a time. Blue is containing the epics. And that's where these little sliders come in on here. And you're going to want to keep the epics at bay as much as possible, because later on, towards the end of the round, they're going to do some damage. So this is essentially saying, just do a little bit less damage, please.
Please.
As we've mentioned earlier, researching epics, you're going to want to do this to help make them easier and even possible to defeat. So for every magnifying glass, you're going to be able to knock down their research by 1. And of course, attacking epics, getting rid of them. Abraham is really good at this, and so every single time you see the skull icon, you're going to move their health tracker down by 1. Once you get them down to nothing, then they're defeated. You remove them, there's a little bonus we'll go over in a minute.
Sometimes it makes sense that even if you haven't researched them all the way to lower their health, it might make a lot of sense to still do damage to them, even at their high health level.
Totally. And then your final choice is going to be planning for the future. And to do that, you're just going to take a plan token. Now, when you do this with the dice, you're not going to get to use that plan immediately. You'll set it off to the side, and then at the start of the next round, it'll become an available plan that you can keep in the little plan portion of your tray. One other thing to note here is that if you're short a die and you're like, oh man, if we only had 1 more attack, we could take them out. You can always use a plan.
Plan token, that's why they're so awesome. Because, especially at the end when you're fighting Steelheart, you let those accumulate some, then you can just lay out some major stuff on him.
Totally. And a plan can be used for anything. A plan can also be used to move, to remove a barricade, like literally anything. A plan is just kind of like,
it's a wild,
1
really.
extra. Yeah, 1 wild.
All right, now you're going to receive rewards. Now, you only receive rewards if you've defeated an epic. So, if we take a look at Faultline here, she would give you 3 research into Steelheart and 3 money. So, there's lots of different things you're going to get from these epics. You're going to get attack values for the enforcers. You're going to all the different things that you can do basically on your action dice, getting more plans. Things like that will happen when you defeat an epic. The big thing here, though, is that you get research into Steelheart, and that's one of the main reasons to defeat these epics, along with eliminating all the bad they're going to do on the next part.
All right, so before we get to all that bad stuff that's going to happen, you do have the opportunity to purchase new equipment with the new money that you receive from killing the other epics. However, new epics are going to come out. So you'll take the top card off the epic pile and replace any of the city districts where you had just defeated epics. Now, I will say their action tracks are going to reset. So they'll go down to the starting base, and then their actions will go up from there.
So sadly, now it's time to activate all the actions the epics can do. And there's a lot of things that they're going to do, which are all just really bad. Just really bad.
Yeah, so they're going to do really bad stuff, and then Steelheart's going to do really bad stuff.
And they're going to help Steelheart do even worse things.
Yeah, they are. They're on his team after all. That's why we're, battling them.
Exactly.
All right, let's take a look at Night Wielder as an example of the actions here. And so the first thing that Night Wielder is going to do, you'll see this research icon and the skull icon. That means that the epic is going to go up 1 research and up by 1 health. Now, if they're at infinity, they just stay there. And one thing to note here on Night Wielder are these little white arrows to the left and the right. That means that this action is actually not going to happen in this city district, but the 2, one to the left, one to the right, that are next to him.
Like it's giving aid to all the other epics.
Yeah. Like teamwork.
Yeah.
All right, next on his action track is population. Since you see 2 people here, that means your population is going to go down by 2. And this next action is going to be the action that's helping improve Steelheart's strengths and abilities. Since it's black, you're going to slide up Steelheart's black action track by 1. And we'll go over all of his in a bit, but just know that every time you see a black star, his black track's going to go up by 1, red will go up by 1, and so forth. Next, he's going to knock your population down by 2 again. And then after that, he's going to add reinforcements. Again, you see the white arrow, so this is in his corresponding city districts, which means
these guys are everywhere.
Yes, 2 more reinforcements are going to pop up, 1 to the left, 1 to the right. After that, he's going to knock your population down by 2. And after that, he will increase Steelheart's black track again. And so one thing to note here is that when epics come out, they're going to start with 1 action. But they will quickly get stronger and go up in actions. If at
Right.
any point in time you need to go up in actions and you can't, you're going to repeat this last action as many times as it would need to happen.
It's just epic, right?
Yes.
The other thing to note about these actions these epics can do is that they only can do the ones between their starting bracket and the movable bracket on their board. So if they've not moved up, if they're like just brand new epics to the area, they're going to be pretty low in what they can actually affect and do. But as you let them survive, the longer they live, the more bad actions and things they can do. And basically helping the other epics and helping Steelheart destroy you, basically, and wipe out your population. Which, when you look at these epics and who to go after, like attacking the ones that go after your population is a pretty high priority one to go after. But you also have to watch out for the enforcement team that keeps coming out, and you get overwhelmed by those guys. It's just, there's so many things to keep. Like Anne said, it's very puzzly in your approach, and you really have to strategically go after the right things at the right time.
Yeah, there's a lot going on at once. For example, each epic is only going to go up by one new action for each round. However, for every enforcement that is in that district, it will go up an additional one.
Yeah.
So you may think, oh, he's only going to go up by one, and then you have 5 reinforcement, and all of a sudden you're tapping out the track just doing that last action over and over again.
Which is why they are called reinforcement. You know, they're there to basically aid the epic and crush you. All right, now Steelheart gets to do some damage to you and your team. Starting off, again, based on the player count and the difficulty, his track is going to change. And right out of the gate, his first thing he's going to do is affect your population, which is basically, again, your health, all the reckoners collectively, right? So the first face he has here, he can do double. He'll do 2 points of damage right away, and then he can do all the way up to 6 total, right? So the thing about that is that you have to really try to keep this stuff under wraps, because that's going to wipe you out so fast. You wouldn't think, oh, we can handle 3 or 4, but then you get down to the other end of the track and it just gets so stressful, which is part of the draw of this game, is that there's a lot of tension and a lot of hurry up and get it done kind of feeling. And then secondly, he's going to affect this base track. Now, we haven't really talked about this base track. He's the only one that can affect the base track. And it's going to move this tracker down. And once the tracker falls off your reckoner's board, someone has to give up a dice for that next round. And the only way to get it back is to buy it, and you have to spend funds. So you'd have to give up potentially getting really nice equipment to get the dice back. But the dice will come off, and you basically are going to put them in these slots under the board so you can keep track of who has lost what. So again, this becomes another puzzly moment where you have to decide if it makes more sense, because we're not going to do as much damage next round, so maybe we want to hang on to the research token or the research dice, and we don't want to give those up. So it really is going to depend on how your strategy is evolving in the game.
All right, next up is Steelheart's enforcements, because what we really need in this game
is more enforcement.
Is more reinforcements to deal with. So, like Mark mentioned, all this is going to vary depending on player count and difficulty that you're playing with. But let's take a look at this example. The top left number is the number of starting reinforcements. And then you're going to get 1 reinforcement for each one beyond there. So let's say he's at 2 right now. You'd get 3, 4, 5 reinforcements to start. The bottom number is the groups that you're going to put the reinforcements out in. So in this one example, it's also 3. So you'll put 3 reinforcements where Steelheart is, and then you'll go clockwise from there. If you have 2 left, you put 2 in the next district. After that comes the barricades, which are what prevent you from moving in and out of districts. You have to burn a die or alternatively burn a plan to move.
Right.
Just like the reinforcements, the barricades are going to come out starting in Steelheart's district and then moving clockwise from there.
All right, lastly, then Steelheart is going to move again because, like we said, he's elusive and he doesn't stick around in one place for very long. And you're going to roll that 4-sided dice. And you're going to move in a clockwise fashion based on the number rolled, and depending on if you're playing a smaller count game, he could just end back up where he started. But you never know where he's going to end up.
All right, after Steelheart has moved, all players will collect their dice, roll, and you'll start the round again.
Yes.
You'll keep playing the game in rounds just like this until your population hits 0,
or you defeat Steelheart. All right, folks, just a reminder again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, so everything you've seen here is in prototype form, and the rules still might be changing, so keep an eye on the campaign. Now, with that said, you know, I have to say that I am a new fan to these books, and I can't believe they have really captured the thematic essence of those books in this game. Just done a really good job with that.
Yep, and like I mentioned earlier, I love the puzzly aspect of this game. I have not read the books, and I still loved it. It reminded me of one of the very first games we ever played together. You pulled it out, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh, yes. I don't know if this is going to be a game I like. It had dice that you were rolling and attacking people. But once you get into it, it's a puzzle. It's a cooperative, really, I've got this, you've got that. Let's figure out, how do we attack so that we survive and win?
And the nice thing about cooperative games in general, and especially with this one, is that it really causes a lot of table talk to happen. And everyone is engaged for the whole time. There's not downtime between turns. It's just everyone is continually engaged. So if this looks like a game that might be of interest to you, I'm sure they would appreciate your support. So I think that's it from us. And until next time, we'll see you at the table.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching the Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.